do this later. You'll probably will hear some message to that effect.
Disclosure.
If you do not wish to be recorded, leave now. Or turn off your thing to picture maker camera. Yes. I've slept some. Okay. So hi everyone. A lot of you probably know who I am, and I am Beth. Just had a baby 3 weeks ago. So Emily is doing really well. She is with her daddy right now. And then many of y'all know Steve. He's working on getting his audio up. He is recovering from COVID currently. So good news is that he's probably not going to get COVID during Night Hops. Then we also have on the call Marty, who will be our keeping us all sane and fed and taken care of. And we have Victoria, my sister-in-law, who is going to be managing registration. And my Ben
hear me?
and Stephanie.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Dad. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Awesome. So this year at Night Ops, we have made some changes that needed to be made to make it more streamlined, easier for others to replicate. Because we have had a troop in Texas do Night Ops. We're going to have a troop in Alabama, as well as one in hopefully North Carolina. So we have made some updates to streamline things, as well as account for the fact that I just had a baby, and so we had no idea what I would be like after baby came. Thankfully, I have like maybe 2 to 3 hours of usefulness every day in between napping. So some of the things that we have changed this year, one of the fun changes we've made is you can kind of see right back here, this weird dummy. This is, we're going to start doing first aid dummies to make it easier to do a variety of different scenarios. And so one thing that I can tell everyone right now is that while the primary part, the head and the chest, is a American Heart Association anytime CPR kit, which means you could actually do CPR and breast and all of that on it, we will not be doing a CPR scenario for first aid this year. Next year, we might. You never know. I suppose I should ask, can everyone hear me all right? Everybody is muted.
I got a thumbs up from someone.
Oh, excellent. We got 3 thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, cool. So think about if y'all have any questions, in just a minute, I will ask, and you can unmute yourself and just ask your question, and we will start answering questions.
Alternatively, if you do not have a microphone, I'll monitor chat and I can read that out.
Yes, exactly. Yes, very good. So we have our first aid situation going. We're gonna have 3 first aid dummies, and so how it's going to work this year is you will have a narrator who will be describing to you the situation. And for instance, when a patrol comes up, they'll be describing, the narrator will tell them this is what's going on. When they go and say, if they check the pulse, the narrator will tell them the pulse is weak or steady. However, the patrol will need to communicate what they are doing as they're doing it. So it's going to be both say what you're doing and demonstrate what you're doing. Because obviously, if you don't tell the narrator, hey, I'm checking the pulse, and someone else is saying, oh, well, I am checking his breathing, the narrator is not going to see what you're doing. So you got to say, I'm checking the pulse. Obviously, if everyone is talking at the same time, the narrator will not be able to answer every question. So as always, communication is important. And yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to be able to do a lot of different things with them. One of the other things, as far as registration, every year I try to streamline how we do registration, particularly considering what Trail Life and AHG each requires of us that we have. And so that's where I've implemented having the website form. As many of you have probably already seen, and many of you may have already submitted through that form. In fact, let me find it and pull it up. I just exited out of something. Essentially, they have reduced how much paperwork we need this year, but we do still need the membership ID cards of every individual who is attending. That's adults and youth. And you can get that through AHG Family or Trail Life Connect, download it as a PDF and upload it, because then we can easily download those and look at them. And basically we just look to see, okay, when does this person's registration end? For AHG, everyone's registration ends on September 30th. Fantastic. However, for adults, your KEYS training, your youth protection training, does not always end on September 31st. So that has to be current in order for us to allow you to attend. And then Trail Life, they have a little bit better of a registration process because it's on a 12-month cycle. Sorry, hang on a second. Getting the link was a little harder than I anticipated. So we do have a form, and everyone should have received, every individual who registered their troop should have received an email that has a link to a spreadsheet that you'll be able to see your roster as we verify people. So if you submitted people and you don't see anyone on your roster, follow up with us so that we can ensure that everyone gets in there. The deadlines are for Trail Life August 17th, and for HG it is the 24th. And those are the dates that you have to get to us, everyone who is coming. So you cannot add anyone after that date. Everyone has to be listed, which does mean that if somebody joins, the following week and wants to come to the ops, they can't. I'm working with Trail Life to see if I can get around that for next year. My brain just skipped a beat. Sorry, mom brain. We are doing early bird pricing. Essentially, we're incentivizing getting all of your ducks squared away prior to the day of. And so after the registration deadline for whichever weekend you are attending, you will receive an invoice for whoever you have registered, adults and youth. And if you pay that by the early bird deadline, then it's the early bird pricing. If you pay afterwards, for instance, if you arrive on the day of and you pay, then it is the regular pricing. I think those were the only two big changes this year. So I'm going to stop talking because my brain is a little scattered. Does anybody have questions?
I have one from Therese. It said she's asking if someone is assigned for navigation. I assume she means to manage the station. What are the best resources and links to train for navigation?
Ooh, excellent. That was one of the things I was thinking of. I've dusted off a training document I made last year that I'm going to send out after this call to everyone that has basically all of the skills. It has a list of every station that we do, and then a list of all of the skills that someone would need, so that it's basically can print it out for the patrol. Let me share screen. Share. Okay, so for maps and compasses, we have some things here. We have this document that Steve created a while back that kind of goes over how to use a map and compass. It includes some practices that you can do. This is important because when a patrol arrives, the first thing they have to do is use our set of coordinates and distances and map out where a station is and be able to show us, okay, here's where various stations are, we confirm. They're not scored on that, but that is something they have to do. They'll need to know how to look at an object and take the bearing of that object. And I created also this practice that has a map, and then it has the various different bearings. For instance, from position 8, right there, what is the bearing and distance to Piney Mountain? And that's one of these, right there, so that they can practice on a map. I can't really include here's how to practice, standing out in front of your charter organization, standing at a particular point and taking the bearing of a lamppost or something like that. And I do have the answers as well for this. So I'll send this out to everyone. Any element of maps and compasses is fair game. This includes triangulation, which is what we did last year. Last year we had a scenario where they were told a lost patrol member radioed in, he saw these 3 glow sticks, he took these bearings. Which of the stakes in this field was he standing at when he took those bearings? In prior years, we've had them also do a thing where they start at one position, they have to go out, say 50 feet at 180 degrees, then go 100 feet at 42 degrees, and then take the bearing of glow sticks. And basically we judge them, score them based off of how accurate their bearings were. So we do some variation of those two things until someone gives us a new idea for how to do different challenges here. And so we'll send this out. Does anyone else have a question?
Well, can I jump in here? I didn't know if her question was, how does she manage that station, or how do you do the station? If you're a volunteer at the station, you just need to give the instructions and then receive the information back when they come back to you.
Yes. Often the station, we will hand them a piece of paper sometimes for them to write down their answers on, and they hand that back. Or they come back and they say, okay, we ended up at the stake A or B. This does tend to be one of the harder stations because it tends to require more brain power. So I tend to advise my patrols that if they know where this station is at, do not save this station for last. If it is possible for them to include the station early on, do so because of how much brain power it takes. Okay, stop share to see if anyone else has questions. Raise your hand, unmute yourself. Anybody?
One thing we're doing different this year is to, since there's around 30 patrols or so, each patrol is going to be given a barcode. And, and so anyway, what I'm saying is they'll be given a barcode, and when they're checking in, that barcode will be linked to a Google sheet that we have on our phones there on the premises. And so when we check them in, we can see, each person is in the patrol. We can see when they got their maps checked. So when there's like 5 or 6 people out there checking maps, they all have access to the same spreadsheet. And so,
Yes, it's going to be a Google form, making it really easy for instance, if you're at the fire station and a patrol comes up to you, you can go, okay, going to scan that barcode. And it's going to pre-fill in, ideally, which patrol it is. And you can go, okay, check them in they're at the fire station, submit. And we'll be able to see over at the command tent, okay, patrol 6, the breadsticks, is at the fire station. So we can kind of see throughout the night which patrols have finished which stations. So we have a better idea of how things are progressing and where perhaps there's a backup. You know, if we see that any camp hasn't done, you know, has only done 5 patrols, and it's already, you know, we can see where hangups are happening and that sort of thing. And it will also hopefully make scorekeeping a lot easier as well. Which is also, yeah, we've just had a few more people sign up on the volunteering form. So we do have on the website a share screen. We have a page that has all of the information for volunteers, the different positions that we need filled, and a link to volunteer. So even if you are just volunteering to be at a particular station, if you go ahead and fill out the form, then we can go ahead and basically give you priority to be at which station you want to be at. Some of the things that, this is also one of the things that we're doing differently this year is increasing the size of our team. So we have our advanced team, which is our individuals who come early to set up. Typically in the past, that's been Steve and I and like one other person. So this year, we're going to have a couple of people coming early. They'll be able to help us set up and also learn more about how Night Ops is run and how we, you know, our thought process through how we go through different challenges we do. We're going to have some health and safety leads. So we'll have someone who is dedicated to maintaining the health and medical forms, which we are requiring that everyone provide us a copy of. This is so that if your patrol shows up at the command tent and goes, hey, I have a headache, can I have a Tylenol? We can know what we are and are not allowed to give someone, which may sound silly, but both organizations, I believe, I know HD requires us to document even giving out a Tylenol. And it would be helpful, you know, for the leaders to know, hey, so-and-so, you know, is having a headache or XYZ is happening. And you will get those health and medical forms back at the end. Please do not leave us with your health and medical forms. We do not need that information after the event is over. We're expanding the registration team. You'll notice that some of these have early arrival times because particularly like on the HD weekend, we have people arrive early. Trail Life tends to arrive later during the day. But we also want people like our station leads to arrive early so that we can brief anybody who's a station lead on what's happening so that they can then brief their volunteers. And any volunteers who get there early, if you arrive at 5 p.m., go ahead and check in, if you can, at the volunteer tent so that we can go ahead and explain what you're doing. And so you can ask any questions and we can give you any training that is needed. We want to try to make sure that everything is being done the same across the board. So that at like the rope station, you don't have one person judging them on the accuracy of the knots and one person judging them solely based on does your contraption just hold up? Does it look mostly right? We want to make sure that everyone is, every patrol is scored fairly evenly across the board. We also would like to have, I would love to have campground masters, people who are at the campgrounds who can direct people as to like, hey, we need to make sure we keep our tents orderly. We have to share fire rings. Here's where the bathrooms are, that sort of thing. What was that? Sonia? did you have a question? It says Naya's iPhone. Yes, we will give you, so Katie asked the question, will station volunteers be given the scenarios to read for first aid, or do they have to make them up? We will make them up. We will create them ahead of time and give you a script, and then give you all of the information. And ideally, particularly for first aid, we're going to get you that information ahead of time, if at all possible. Keep in mind that if you get information ahead of time for a station, do not share it with anyone, obviously. It's always fun watching patrols come in, and they never know what we're going to throw at them.
Every station is scripted, so that one patrol don't get different information. Like for fire, it's going to be scripted such that if they're burning something on the little, I don't know if y'all been to night house before, but we have this device on our little fire pits that can move up and down to move something. It'll be stated to them that they can actually move that and things like that, so that people aren't making up things as they go. Basically they're told to how much, before time they're told how much killing they can bring, and so everything is tried to be spelled out very precisely.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons I am reviewing this pre-night ops patrol information document, because I have listed here everything we've done in the past, which is all fair game. And so, like for instance, ropes and lashings, we might reuse one of these, or we might come up with a new scenario. One day I would love to have a bunch of different scenarios for everything, so that it's easy to cycle through them. We could be doing one of these. We could be creating something new. But everything here is listed. So for instance, when I was talking about night navigation, I have an example here of the different things that we have done. Starting stake, navigate, and then triangulation. We also have the equipment overview here. I know last year, speaking of the fire station, we did have an issue with what fire starters were and were not allowed. So we're not allowing any liquid fire accelerants, such as hand sanitizer, liquid rubbing alcohol, hairspray, lighter fluid. If it's a liquid, not allowed. Homemade fire starters are allowed, and those can include things like Vaseline and rubbing alcohol, so long as it's no longer in danger of soaking somebody. My primary aim in how we work the idea behind the fire starters is I don't want someone to accidentally set themselves on fire because their sleeve got dipped in rubbing alcohol, or they accidentally got rubbing Vaseline all over them and they lit themselves on fire. So ideally, nothing liquid nor sticky. Vaseline can still be used. I recommend not just using Vaseline and cotton balls, because there are ways that you can improve your efficiency by adding a few things to that. But yeah, that's one of the things we've had in the past. And no bringing outside firewood. Obviously, anytime you go to a campsite, they tell you don't bring outside firewood because you could be introducing bugs from a different environment. So when you arrive at camp, you will need to you can go ahead and as soon as you arrive, start gathering stuff. I do not recommend waiting until you are at the station to find things. If it is raining, we are still doing fire building. So definitely go ahead and find your tinder, kindling, and firewood. Go ahead and collect that. Bring a backpack, load it up.
Okay, one more question from Therese. She was asking where we find these past scenarios you were mentioning, and I think you were saying that's just what's listed in this document you're going to send everyone, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I'm going to update this on the website. and be sending it out as an email. Can you share the tips on improving the efficiency of fire starters? Yes, I think I even have a different fire starters. Oh, I need to go in here and update this, make sure this removes that. So you've got your natural twine. By the way, the sandwich size bag is because someone brought a backpack of baling twine. That is why you're limited to a sandwich size bag.
And just to clarify, this information is on the Night Ops website. If you go to the main page, there is at the top, there's a blog titled Fire Starters. That's where you'll find this fire starter information.
Yes. Be sure to let your patrols know that they can use any information they find on this website. Anything is fair game. So yeah, everything's fair game. My recommendation, the cupcake egg, using a paper egg carton with lint or sawdust and wax works very well. The fire starter Tootsie Roll is my preferred way of using Vaseline, because you put that Vaseline into a piece of wax paper. Fat wood is good. I don't like store-bought fire starters because I feel like that kind of takes some of the creativity out. So yes, I need to go in here and update this right here. I need to update that. You can use it, I just don't like it because you can still get Vaseline on things, but it's not as flammable as rubbing alcohol. Let's see. Your troop is a couple hours drive from there. As much as we try to convoy, we might get split up on the way. Is it important for us to arrive as a group? We greatly prefer for people to arrive as a group because it makes checking people in easier. So the important thing is at check-in, your entire car does not need to empty. We need one adult to come out and say, this is who I am. This is our troop. Here's who's with me. Okay, check those off. There is no bathrooms available at registration. You have to get onto the property in order to use the bathroom. And so as much as possible, convoying helps because if one person can come up and say, I have my entire troop here. Here's all of the health and medical forms for us. Here's all of this that we need. We are good to go. In fact, we might actually need every adult to come in and check in because we do need to check to make sure everyone has their lanyard. So if you do not arrive with your lanyard, if you forget your lanyard and your ID card, we will have lanyards you can purchase, and we can print out your ID card. So that, because those do have to be worn at all times and they must be visible. So if you're a boogeyman in the woods, a roaming sentry, you have to have that leader lanyard visible. The rest of you can be camouflaged, but your bright red lanyard must be visible. So it's ideal, but we understand if you have to break it up.
So to answer her question about if one part of their group comes in 30 minutes later, the first group can check everybody in. So when 30 minutes later, the other group comes in, they can just go ahead and go on in.
Ish. Well, we're not going to let anybody onto the property until we've checked to make sure he's in the car.
Right. So basically just, make sure you're communicating with whoever else is in your convoy. So like if your other driver did get separated for some reason, tell them, hey, we've registered everyone. You just need to check in with registration so that they can let you onto the property.
So you're saying that you only want an adult to come up to registration, but now you're saying that you want to see every child.
No.
Okay.
So every car, there is no car will be able to get onto the property unless they have the gate code. The only way you get the gate code is by coming up to the people at registration saying, hi, my name is Elizabeth. Here's my ID card. In my car is Billy and Bobby Sue. We're with Troop 594.
And then
okay,
at that time,
Steve has already been here.
So at that time, you could say that y'all have already been checked in. Go ahead and go.
Yes.
Yeah. We can say Carissa has already gotten here. She has given us your health and medical forms. Here is the code to get into the gate. you are clear to go in. Here is the map, which is also important. You do need a map of the property. Here's a map. Here's where you're camping. So
now, as far as
ideally, the first person to arrive should hand us the health and medical forms for everyone. But obviously, you never know when every troop has a health and safety lead that has those forms. So that may be the last person to arrive, or it may be the first person.
So another thing that's different this year is they have a new gate code device. So the gate codes will be changed all the time. So
yes, every
gate codes from previous years aren't going to be the same as they are this year.
Correct. So, yes.
And also, we used to have everybody sign a waiver. Trail Life does not require waivers anymore.
Yes, because every person who is entering the property is a registered member of Trail Life USA or American Heritage Girls. Those waivers are no longer necessary. We no longer need the mail waiver we did in the past. We don't need the group waiver. AHG troops do not need to give us a certificate of insurance. We do need, the things that you will need is we need the permission slip, event permission slip. So that kind of gives us the additional information of, should something happen to a youth or adult, here's who we contact. So the troop should have a copy of that, and we will have a copy of that. We will keep our copy of the event permission slip. You'll also provide us with that health and medical form so that we can have that on file, but you will get those back at the end whenever you leave. Check with us, we will give them back to you, because that is sensitive information that we need in case somebody has a heart attack or gets hurt. We don't want to have to wait to find where your troop's health and safety lead happens to be during the night. We want to be able to have our first aid people ready and go, okay, Billy is allergic to Tylenol, don't give him Tylenol, or XYZ.
Also this year, Care Lodge is no longer available. So
yes,
there'll be 4 porta-johns. There'll be the gym where the youth could use. And then there's a gym apartment, which has 1 bathroom facility that adults can use if they don't want to use a porta-john.
Yeah. And we will put up a sign saying when, if we're able to do this, the youth bathroom is also the bathroom that has showers. So there will be a period of time, probably early in the morning, where adults can go use the showers, where we'll switch, and we'll put there'll be a sign on the door saying, okay, this is now adult bathrooms, adult showers, youth use the other.
Okay.
Just so that we just, because otherwise we just have 1 shower. And I know us adults do like showering more than the boys do, at least.
We can also go more in detail on that when they arrive at registration as well. Like if there's any questions where the facilities are, how to access, whatnot.
Yeah. As patrols navigate between stations, are they permitted to use white lights, red lights, or no lights? They can use whichever lights they so desire. A lot of people choose to use red lights so that they don't kill their night vision. Typically, we will have roaming sentries or bogeymen who are walking the trails, helping to enforce the stealth policy. Stealth between station is more about, I shouldn't hear you coming. I can see you coming, that's fine. I should not hear you coming from far away, because there will be, you will be walking near campsites that will have people who are sleeping. So some adults, who have to drive the next day will be sleeping, and we do not want them to have to wait, throughout the night. We keep getting woken up by patrols being loud. So they can use whatever lights they would like. They should just keep in mind that if I can hear them coming or leaving me arguing about how to be stealthy, that has happened. And it is recommended that you have plenty of flashlight, because when you get to a station, you might want a lot of light. You might want more light. We have had patrols who have had like one flashlight. And so the person in front has a flashlight. And while that does make you more stealthy in a way, it also makes the person who's at the end annoyed because they can't see where they're walking. And so, yeah, have multiples of all of your equipment. It's helpful.
To that end, I would also maybe suggest, if you want the use of both of your hands while you're working at a particular station, a head-mounted flashlight would be excellent.
Yes, yes.
You can just duct tape your flashlight to your head if you really want to get creative.
This is true. This is true. Let me go over into here. One of the things we get asked a lot is about first aid. And so I've listed here basically what is covered in the Trailman's Handbook. If you're an AHD troop, I do recommend that you actually get one of the Trailman handbooks, because they actually have useful first aid information in here. So AHD, our first aid skills are scattered throughout various badges, which is nice in a way because you learn about first aid for hiking in the hiking badge. However, it would be helpful if we had an actual first aid badge. And the closest we get to that is emergency preparedness, which does go over first aid and a lot of other first aid. Goes through CPR, and also goes through some of the first aid stuff. But there's definitely a lot more listed out in the Trailman's Handbook, which is also why I have listed out the highlights here. It's also recommended that you go and get one of the field guides, because you can bring materials. You do not have to memorize everything. I know we've got at least one patrol on this call, well, one youth at least. You can bring in materials, like you can be bringing in your handbook. You can bring in this first aid guide, so that when you get to, there's also one of these for outdoor skills that includes ropes and lashings. So if if it's 2 a.m. in the morning and you get to first aid and you're not 100% sure what to do, you can open that up. You can delegate to someone and say, open this up, read here, read what we're supposed to do for this type of scenario while we go and try to fix this person. Okay, is there anything we're missing? Oh, okay, we didn't check to make sure that they were breathing, or something. You can do that. Delegating and communication is very important. Yes. Do we have any other questions? We do have a Morse code example.
Someone was asking
so
for the name of the handbook. You can find that. I'll get the link. You can continue.
Gotcha. The Morse code is slow. There's Steve has it up there.
This is actually, if they haven't muted me, sorry about my voice. I came down with COVID on Tuesday morning, but this is actually the device that'll be out in the woods. And there's a small LED that will flash. This is the rate that flashes. There's also on the website where you can practice. And you'll actually see this LED. You can see it over about a half a mile away. So at night, you may say, well, how can I see that? Well, you can actually see them, a small light flashing very far away, and it's worked every year. So this will be in a Ziploc bag powered by batteries, and there'll be a message flashing on it. And there's a decoder card. If you're new to this, make sure you get the decoder cards printed out. We'll also give you decoder cards. So you do not have to know Morse code. You just have to work as a team to decipher it.
Yep. Okay, there we go. Remove thing and share screen. Yes. So I have also the decoder sheet here. We will also be documenting like how to actually, for instance, create the device that Steve was showing you, because we may not get that done. We're not going to get that done before night ops. But the group in Texas, we talked to them and gave them the code and the things on how to build that device for them to do their own. And so these sheets it's very easy. I know it's sideways. That did not work. But essentially, if it's dot dash dot, it's dot dash dot, and it's really just go down. So have one person looking at it going dot dash, another person writing it down, and do it for like 5 minutes. Do it for a while, and then decode it, and you will see the pattern emerge. We do not use long messages. Our most infamous message was, "Are you tired yet?" That was like one of the longest ones we did. So we tend to keep them fairly short. So we actually now, the Morse code station is the only station that is not manned by adults. They do, the patrol will pinpoint where it is on the map, and we will tell them, okay, this station, this is the Morse code station. There will not be an adult there. In your patrol packet that you will get when you've checked in, this envelope, this has your instructions for what to do at that station. When you return at the end of the evening and you check in at the command station, you will give us this information, and that was how you are scored on Morse code. So typically it is, the Morse code station involves first decoding the message, and then taking the bearing of a couple objects from a specific point that we tell you.
So to clarify,
go ahead.
To clarify, they do have to find the actual device to decode it, not do it from a distance, because you'll have to triangulate certain things from that spot.
Yes, so we'll tell you which spot to go to, and from that spot, you'll be able to see the Morse code. And then typically in the instructions, we'll tell you, you will see 3 posts with security tape wrapped around them. On that security tape is a letter marked. Write the letter in this box, and then take the bearing of the Morse code from that stake. So we know if you were at stake B, the correct bearing for Morse code is X. If you were at stake A, it is Y. And we do that because how we score it is first we look at who decoded the message correctly, and then from those people, who had the most accurate bearing. And that's kind of how we do some of the scoring, that we can figure out who gets the ribbon for that station. And hopefully we don't have a tie. I think we've had ties before that station. And that is one of the things that you'll turn in at the end. So do not lose your patrol packet. There is information that you will need at the end. Because we do have a speed ribbon as well. I list out everything we did at Water Station.
Also, if a troop finds that they can't get there, they got delayed or something, and they can't get there at the starting time, that doesn't matter. They can start after everybody else has already started.
You just may not start before we brief you.
Have your maps checked. So, you know, in case you're new to this, you first get there, you set up camp first, and then you come to the starting point and we start from there.
Yeah. So you arrive, you check in, we let you on the property, you go, you set up your tents, maybe you eat a quick dinner, and then as soon as possible, the youth and adults should go to, patrols go to the command station to pick up their patrol packet, which includes their maps, instructions on how to pinpoint the locations. It has the Morse code information. adults go to the volunteer tent, where they will get their information. They'll get trained if they need training on anything. That way we can start on time as much as possible. So once you have your maps checked off, that does not mean you can start the event, because there may be no adults out. So typically we'll set a time, either 9 or 10 o'clock, where we will first gather all of the adults. We will send them off to the station. And then we will gather all of the patrols, those who have completed their maps and those who have not. And we will brief you on what is happening during the night. We'll remind you of any rules, like do not climb things, do not go in the water, those sorts of things. We will pray over you. And then if your patrol has your maps checked off, you will be released to start going to the different stations. If you have not had your maps checked off, then you will complete that step, have your maps checked off, and then be released to go and start the event. And your start time is when your maps are checked off, or, obviously if we send out 12 patrols all at once at the briefing, that's when your time starts.
Also the first station each patrol goes to is mandatory. They're told which station they have to go to. The rest of the evening, they can decide where they want to go.
It's mostly, I think, just to, I guess, keep everyone from piling on to one station, like at the beginning, like we want to do this first.
Well, for one, they don't know what is at that station. They're just Alpha, Beta, Charlie stations. They don't know what's there. So they're just told to go to that station first, and then they can figure out where they want to navigate the rest of the evening.
Yeah. So we do have a typical schedule on the homepage of the website that has a lot of this information, including that we end around 3 a.m. in the morning. So at 3, we will check to see if all the patrols are in yet. If not, who's out there, and are they reasonably going to be able to finish this event? We have had patrols in the past who have not completed several stations by 3 a.m. And typically they choose themselves to peace out and just take 0 scores at those stations. But 3 a.m. is the cutoff, just about. It's when we figure out what patrols are out there. Can we still man the stations for them to get to those stations, for them to complete it by 4 a.m.? Because after the event ends, we have to take we have to finish scoring everything. And 30 patrols, 8 different stations, that's a lot of information. And at 11 a.m. Saturday, thereabouts, we do our debriefing and award ceremony. We ask that everybody come to that, particularly the adults who are at a station, because this is where you'll get the opportunity to perhaps tell a story or two about what happened. First aid can tell us which patrols you want to be with and which ones you do not want to be with in the event of emergency. And sometimes we have optional Saturday activities, such as a wildlife conservation class. I need to check with Mr. Bill to see if he still, if he is able to do that this year. But he has a really cool classroom filled with local animals, because he is a taxidermist. And so he can go through and tell you about wildlife conservation, habitats, how to interact with different animals. He's a really, really cool guy. And if any troop wants to organize some activity for Saturday, like perhaps practicing some of those outdoor skills, if they want to open that up to other troops who are there, they are most welcome to do so. And I can help spread the word about that. However, typically we are toast. We are done. We are just coasting at this point, taking naps.
Onion rings.
Yes. So there are frequently asked questions here. For instance, unregistered parents or siblings are not allowed to attend. If you do not have an ID card, you are not allowed on the property. If you are sick, do not come. If you've been around someone who has had the Rona, COVID, do not come. We do ask that as many adults as possible volunteer to help run the event. It makes it more fun when you have a bunch of people at a station and you can chat with people. It makes it run more smoothly, and it gives you, it's an experience. It's fun. Everyone provides their own food and their own tents. We have event patches this year. We also have a few other things for those who volunteer. And in case you're wondering, any excess funds that we have at the end of Night Ops goes to other event projects and towards improving Camp Aiken. In case you were wondering. I want to point y'all to this page, which is under About, Run Your Own Night Ops. We go through in detail how to run your own night ops. So if you're a patrol wanting to really learn a lot before you come for the first time, it's a long video, it's 2 hours, but it goes through, and you can see here, like this is going over volunteer staff, this is talking about setting up stations, different stations. We go into detail about what we do at every station, how we do scoring. So if you have questions about how do we do scoring, you can find information there, how we do awards, health and safety rules, which has changed somewhat, that sort of thing. We do have extra patches, yes. Pretty sure it's in that box right there. So yes, we do have extra patches from last year. And that's what one person asked.
So if they arrive and they're like, hey, my troop member lost her patch, they can probably just, you want to do that to where if they ask me at registration, I can just distribute those?
Yes, I will give those to you.
Okay.
Let me make a note of that.
Okay, so if you have someone from last year who lost their patch, make note of that when you're at registration, checking everyone in.
Typically, by the way, we hand out the patches for this year after the award ceremony. So it is also an incentive to stay. We do not allow anyone to leave before, I think it's 6 a.m., or at least we highly discourage. We have had individuals in the past who have stayed up all night with their youth and then driven youth home because they have an event the next day. That is not allowed anymore because A, safety, you're sleep deprived. We don't want you driving youth sleep deprived. Second, it's not respectful to other patrols when like only 2 representatives of a patrol are left to receive awards or that sort of thing. Like all patrols should be at the award ceremony on Saturday morning, unless your sister is graduating and you have to be there, a wedding, significant life events, or medical things. Try to be there. It's fun. You get to hear all sorts of kind of stories. If anybody has ideas, as you're going through, this document or the website, if you have an idea for a challenge for one of these stations, like maybe you've got a really cool idea for what we could do at ropes and lashings, write it down and email it to us, because we would love to have more scenarios and things. And we only have so much creative brain power. So that's not to say that every idea we'll be able to use, because we do have to be able to score everything evenly across the board, whether a patrol has 4 patrol members or 8 patrol members. So there's some scenarios we've had to nix because we just could not feasibly score it in a way that was fair for a large patrol and a small patrol. But any idea that you have, particularly, in fact, 1, 2, 3, there's a 9th station. I need to go ahead and add that in. Last year, we did a puzzle station. We are not doing the puzzle station. Because brain power, 3 a.m. in the morning, not happening. We're doing a teamwork station. The teamwork station will be a fun station where you will be tasked to do something that requires teamwork. It will be fun. It will be silly, possibly. It may or may not be based in an outdoor skill, but it's gonna be something fun. The laser station has been renamed to obstacle course because we are not able to do lasers this year. So that is going to change a little bit. So it is also kind of a teamwork station because it will be an obstacle course that you'll have to get through. Something else that I forgot that I should point out. We are working on every year now doing there are 9 stations. I think that should make 9. Water, fire, ropes, 4 is first aid, night navigation. Yep.
Recon, yeah.
9 stations. Morse code is the only one that is not manned by an adult. And most stations ideally should only take like 3 to 5 minutes to complete. Lord will let the creek don't rise. Fire building, we have had people complete that. We've had people complete that in under 2 minutes, like real fast. Some might take, first aid's going to take a little bit longer, that sort of thing. So last year was our first year that we attempted to do a theme for night ops. And so it was kind of an escape room. You're stuck on an island, you have to get off. So you had to get puzzle pieces to solve the final puzzle. So we are doing a theme this year, but it's not going to be a puzzle. Our theme this year is, I think I put it in here. Did I put it in here?
It's the image on the lower left.
Yes, Ephesians 6:10 through 18. So the armor of God. So at different stations, the scenarios will be themed. For instance, the shield of faith, which quenches the fiery darts of the enemy. Fire station. So there'll be the scenarios will have some of that theme in there. And then will be an opportunity to talk about the armor of God and how it relates to real life and that sort of thing. And obviously here you can see that it's now part of the patch, which is also, thank you, Victoria, for updating our logo and broadening our horizons with our patches so that we're not having to stick to a compass all the time. Not that I love the compass. It was real easy, but I was running out of color schemes. Yeah. So this.
But yeah, if you want to get your troops together and maybe read through these passages, beforehand and kind of get yourselves in that mindset.
Yeah. So we're really thinking about how, the outdoor skills we do at Night Ops are important for when we go and we do outdoor skills. But just like essentially the skills we learn in life are helpful in many ways. So like Ephesians talks about, the shield of faith helping quench the fiery darts of the enemy. So when the enemy comes at you with lies and you have faith, you have skills you can use to combat the enemy. And throughout AHG and Trail Life, we're trying to teach these kids the different skills they will need in life, whether that is first aid or fire building or bug detection, or most importantly, here's how to know who you are in the eyes of God, your identity. Knowing these skills so that when you get out there in the real world, this isn't just a silly little vacation Bible school, put on the armor of God. No, this is like, okay, this is what this means. Knowing
you
your
can more
scriptures so
confidently handle the challenges that life presents.
Yes. So hopefully one of these days between now and night out, I will put together an actual like blog post talking about the theme more. But you know, I'm currently running on I think 4 hours of sleep. So, so does anybody have any other questions or comments or concerns or anything like that? Yes, I will be sending out. I'll upload this to YouTube and send everyone the link. For that, someone asked about the recording of the Zoom call. Sorry. Let me stop sharing my screen. Where's that button?
But sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. So gallery. So can y'all, Steve, Marty, can y'all think of any other questions people might have?
I think we're good to go. We can go ahead and end it.
Did you answer the Krista McCall who asked if they had extra patches from last year?
Yes.
Yes. We will have those patches at check-in. And so just tell Victoria and she will give you some patches from last year. Cool. Well, thanks guys for coming. If anybody has any questions, patrols have questions, adults have questions, anything like that, email the Night Ops email address. My brain is trying to remember. nightopsadventures@gmail.com. So email that email address because that is checked by our entire team, by Victoria, Stephanie, myself, as opposed to emails that are sent directly to me. Those might get lost. Cool. Victoria just dropped it into the chat. So typically if you email me, I'm just going to forward it to that Gmail account and then answer you from that Gmail account. Because, well, yeah, I keep things very organized that way.
We don't want to lose your emails.
No, that would not be good. Not be good at all. So I will send out an email shortly to everyone with the that document I was showing you, as well as the link to this recording. So it'll take a little bit for that to happen, for the recording to do its thing. But I'll send that email out, and then if y'all could share that with your troop, the patrol members, other adults who are coming, because I don't have everybody's email, that would be fantastic. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, and let us know if you have any other questions. Okay. I'm going to
Thank you.
In.
Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Beth, if you'll hang tight for just 1 second.
Yep. Thank you. The baby wasn't sleeping. I was pulling her in here. I'm sure everybody.
What?
I contemplated pulling up pictures of Emily.
Okay, so the email you're sending, will it be the outline / the link to the recording of this meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you're sending that documentation for the stations. If you would, I put that link for the handbooks for the Trail Life USA. You might want to just include that just in case someone
Cool.
loses the link. And probably just reiterate the lanyard thing, that if they forget their lanyard, they will have to buy one on site.
Yeah. Cool. There we go. Last person's off. Lanyard. Video recording.
And also just let them
that
know, hey,
document.
check the blog posts on the NIDOPS website, all the information you might need, check the NIDOPS website. If you don't have that information on the website, send us the email.
Yes, yes. I'm going to click stop recording real quick.